Good evening and welcome back to Nosetools. So, when we left, as I recall, I forgot. Even though I went back and reviewed the history, last stream last time, I've already forgotten what was going on. We just had some entertainment with zombie rhinos, which had then all cleared off, and so we're desperately tidying up. And we're also trying to get some magma up from the depths of the fortress into places where we can, for instance, set fire to everything in the pit full of undead, so that we can clear it out and tidy it up and make it work better. I have several ideas about how that area can be made to work better, and maybe we can actually get them implemented. Also, if we can get some magma, we can use it for powering various of our workshops, so that we don't need charcoal anymore, which would be helpful. Kind of worried by the state of some of my Mark's dwarves. I think I've got at least one person who has gone mad recently, which is not helpful. I can't see them in my list. Maybe they've died. Can't see anyone there who appears to be horrifically mad. So maybe they're dead already. I mean, we do have had 780 deaths in this fortress so far, though several of them were of the same thing repeatedly. So, yes, so I am slightly worried that this dwarf is stressed and possibly needs to practice a craft. That will help. Also needs to pray, which should actually be practical for them. So anyway, way down below we have the magma. So let us do some useful things with the magma. There we're waiting for a metalsmith to come down and build our magma forge. I wonder if anyone's actually working on that. And there we are constructing things. I'm slightly disinclined to build blocks here, actually. I mean, glass blocks are free. But I think they also involve a lot of dragging things around, so let's cancel that job and make blocks out of. There's a reason why I put hotkeys on these things. How's our microcline? Is it microcline or no orthoclase stockpile? Okay, we don't currently have any orthoclase stocks, so maybe we'll need to wait a moment for someone to haul some more orthoclase up here. One slight problem is because we've just let everyone into the fortress from outside. Okay, someone has found it. What are you doing with that microcline block? With that block? Oh, you're going to build the magma forge. Excellent. So do we have two more? Oh, we have plenty of orthoclase blocks. Right, okay. I think what I actually want to do then is set up down here a small stockpile. How how many orthoclase blocks do we actually need? 2. We only actually need magma safe. Yeah, but we don't have any other good use for orthoclase blocks, do we? So let's just set up an orthoclase block stockpile here. Why is this not in alphabetical order? Right, 1 stockpile for orthoclase blocks. Not sure if that's the right place, but it's close enough. Pretty much all of the minerals in Dwarf Fortress are real. So in case anyone watching this hasn't found it, the Dwarf Fortress wiki at dwarffortresswiki.org is a great place. I think it's .org.
Is an igneous rock which sometimes contains diamonds. It's named after the town of Kimberley in South Africa.
Yep. Contains diamonds in Dwarf Fortress as well. Yes, if you can always look on the Dwarf Fortress wiki, or indeed for real minerals like kimberlite on Wikipedia, which will tell you plenty of things. So yes, we're getting vast amounts of job cancellation for inaccessible objects, which at some point we might want to worry about. But since so many people are still just hauling objects around the fortress at the moment, I'm kind of inclined to let them. Right, we now have a pile of blocks down here. Is anyone actually doing that job though? Are we short of glass? What the hell is the glass person anyway, people? Well, I can't imagine we have much use for someone who's mostly a thresher. Glazing is, we want glass making. Glazing is putting a glaze on a pot. So that's unhelpful. Check that no one is surprisingly fighting. Oh yes, we possibly want to slaughter some pigs. But on the other hand, there's so much other stuff going on in the butcher's shop at the moment. Probably a single leg is of no use. There's an iron shield there. I think that column is never has anything interesting in it. What is there kicking around in there? Is there any of that wants dumping? Boar nervous tissue is not a great deal of use to us. Draltha cartilage.
Steph online. Steph's online persona. I was slightly surprised when I first met Steph in her former disguise.
Dump these now, they won't get carefully separated out. Right. So is there someone... No, moment. Oh, yes, our glassmaker has now started doing their work. We have right, yes, of course. Building a forge requires lugging an anvil all the way down there, which is going to be fairly slow, especially with pathing within my fort, which generally turns out to be a nightmare. I may need to widen some corridors.
Oh, criminal necromancer is visiting.
Right, what? Thank you for paying more attention to my messages than I am.
It seemed like a particularly odd message. Why is a criminal necromancer visiting you? There it is.
I don't know. Her hair is extremely long, her ears are somewhat narrow.
Actually, we skip the part where she's a criminal, not a necromancer.
Yes. Well, maybe she'll teach us the secrets of life and death. I mean, yeah, I don't know why she's here.
Telling you that they're criminals.
Do I know Karen Martin?
No, you can't come into my fort and entertain the visitors. I've got enough. I mean, I've got enough bards, Ect. There is a dwarf criminal necromancer, Claire, whom you will probably have seen me exploring. As it were. Right, so our mason is now constructing a magma forge, which is... Oh yes, that's the thing we should do. We should set up a stockpile for iron and steel bars down here, because that's what we will want to build our minecart and wheelbarrow out of. I'm afraid, Claire, that you are no more the wiser than me about the nature of our visiting criminal necromancer.
I guess we'll find out when something happens.
Yes, I mean, I'm slightly worried that this is a fort with a lot of corpses in.
Yes.
I
Prioritise magma removal services.
I mean, so... I mean, to be fair, things that can come back to life just do it on their own. So we don't... So actually anything that's still dead is probably unrevivable, I hope.
Good.
But, like... I'm not entirely certain about this. Right, so our magma forge is set up. I'm not going to set it making anything until someone's brought some steel bars down, though. Meanwhile, our extremely novice... our extremely novice glassmaker has managed to produce a couple of well-crafted green glass tubes. Excellent. I mean, I assume they're extremely novice, given I only just told them they were allowed to do it. Dabbling glassmaker, but is still doing a pretty good job. Right. So what we're going to do then is construct in the western one of these rooms a system for filling minecarts.
Someone's left hand is pointing.
Yeah. A system for filling minecarts with magma. So that I'm going to pause for a bit, simply because I'm a little... No, we can wait a bit. So people are bringing in useful materials. No. So we'll need, and then having filled the minecart with magma, we need to make sure we can safely remove the minecart from the magma. So the plan here is that we build one pump that pumps magma up from the magma sea into a small vessel which we can keep put one or more minecarts in. We can put one in easily and more with a bit of mucking around, and then a second pump that pumps magma out of that chamber back into the magma sea. I'm slightly wondering whether that will cause some entertaining disaster like overflowing the magma sea. But we'll see, as it were. I've remembered a couple of other things I wanted. I wanted to make a couple of green glass grates. I think I might want 3, so let's make 3. The idea of those being we've got another necromancer. Dwarf Bard Necromancer.
Oh, that one's definitely a band.
Yes. I mean, the criminal necromancer is now socialising, but we still don't know much more about her. She has come to relax. She heard the Creative Pumpkin was the place to enjoy oneself. I mean, I suppose even necromancers need some fun. Anyway.
Especially necromancers need some fun.
Yes. And let's be optimistic and assume that we aren't accidentally going to cause disaster by pouring magma into the magma sea. And like, if it turns out it does, then we run away, seal the whole thing off, and pretend it never happened. So, actually, we will in general be reducing the amount of magma. So, yes. So, this means I did have a kind of a plan for how I was going to lay this out. So I think I'm going to put the drain here so that we can essentially seal it off in this wall. Then there will have to be a room at this level which we have the outward pump in, and where we put things into the put minecarts in and get them out again, and then this level which has the filling pump and a bit of other stuff. So I think I want us to go up a layer and dig out this room on the layer above, like that, and then we'll also want a little alcove there which will keep getting cancelled, so let's make that one the high priority, and that will be where we drain things into. Right, we've now got a decent stock of metal down here. Is it all the same metal? See, we must have at least 2 of the same metal, mustn't we? So we've got steel, steel, steel. Right, so we can build a steel minecart, which is, in a sense, a horrible waste of steel, but on the other hand, there's not much else we can make these out of. Minecarts don't appear in that list, do they? No. They must be something other than furniture. Maybe they're other objects. Minecart. Forge a steel minecart. Right. So now we want to open that up to be a hole down into the magma sea. Actually, maybe we don't want to do that just yet. Let's not cut a hole there until we've got a floor grate ready to install over it. I think we now have enough material to build another minecart, even though no one's actually turned up to do it. I think the minecart takes 2 bars. So let us add... Well, the other thing we actually need is a wheelbarrow. And then we can construct more minecarts as necessary. That's still all happening somewhere reasonably safe, isn't it? Yes. Oh yes, we've got a Baroness, haven't we? She wants some stuff. She wants a weapon rack and an armour stand in her bed. Well, actually, I'll put it in her office, which is this one. I nominate them after I'm told that we can be turned into a barony. I can't quite remember whether this is actually of any use, but let us install an armour stand and a weapon rack in this office. She also wants a tomb, so let's gratuitously... Actually, we should probably put that in her bedroom, shouldn't we? No, let's just stick a coffin in her office as well. I'm sure that'll be fine. You can always upgrade it until she likes it again. What? We've discovered more... How have we discovered more caverns? Are those connected to the room that I just dug out that was like one floor above where we were already doing things? Where are we? We're at minus 116. Right, here's where we are. Yes. Okay, it turns out that the place where I wanted to do, like, perfectly ordinary, boring, mucking around with magma is in the middle of a cavern. Right. Well, that makes things a bit more entertaining. What is there alive in this cavern? My miner. Well, that's fine. So it looks like this cavern, though, is at least Oh, it's got a jabberer in. Jabberers are fairly scary. Right, so what can I do? How can I handle this? Is there a convenient place where I can be over the magma sea and have 2 floors above it that don't turn out to be part of the cavern? Maybe over there I could. Because I feel that, like, separating out a section of this cavern from the rest of the cavern so as to use it as my upper floor is just not going to work. So I think I undesignate that lot. Build a wall here to separate it off from everything else. And then pick somewhere where I can build a 5x5, because that's my standard size room, building without it intersecting the cavern or the without it intersecting the cavern, but while still being over this high section of magma sea. So I think that means we probably want to be somewhere over here. Kind of want to keep this on the official grid if I can. So that would mean we have corridors. I'm going to designate some things that I don't actually want dug out, merely so I can remember how my grid works. Oops, no. So if I were doing this, actually, let's go M, or rather, what's the toggle marking, right? And then MD, right there. No, M. Right, so I can build one of my standard 5x5 rooms in a way that lines up with the grid that I've already drawn on this layer, which is kind of silly, but it's also kind of fun to do that, which will fit next to the caverns without actually impinging, without actually running into them, and which is all over the magma sea. Excellent. Right, good job I didn't cut that hole in the floor, because it wouldn't have been very helpful. Right, so now let's mark some of that as actually to be dug out. What? No, I didn't mean that. Right, thank you. Also, it would have been easier just to remark that. Right. Slightly worried that someone is going to walk into this cavern now. I am kind of intently watching this. Also slightly worried that something's going to walk out of this cavern, frankly. I mean, oh gods, if you decided to pick up a no, surely you will have chosen the microcline blocks that are closest to this cavern, so that shouldn't be a problem. Thank you. Well, I'm sorry, but if you're ready to leave and you decide that the way to do so is by descending into the third layer of caverns, then that's your own lookout. Have fun with the jabberer.
Yes, look out.
Like, citizens might get some defence. Random visiting artists, you get walled in. I mean, not okay, walled out strictly. You are now officially leaving the fortress. Okay, why is no one making those?
Others have left the building and we have built an extra wall behind it to make sure he stays there.
Yes. I think we may be a bit short of anyone who now knows how to work metal. Got plenty of miners, possibly because there's so much mining to do. Well, we have an oversupply of like millers and such like. Yeah. So meanwhile, let us do all of the digging that I wanted to do. Yeah, the priorities are all weird, I'm not sure I care. So that will be the exit, and we won't actually cut through the floor into the magma sea for a little while. Oh gods, everything's warm, of course. I could do with a "no really I meant it, I know it's warm but it's not actually dangerous" button. Actually, what I'm going to do, is this another miner coming in or is it a metal worker? It's apparently a metal worker, right. When the next miner comes in, I may lock them in. Simply so that... Okay, you were just surprised by the thing on the far side of the door. I may lock the next miner in simply so that they can't change their mind and wander off. Because it's an awfully long way down to these caverns, to these, to the magma mines. Yes, we here have a very inexperienced dwarf trying to work out how you make a wheelbarrow out of steel. Yes. Right, she currently has no ability in metal forging at all, because I think no one in the fort has. Right, I'm going to lock this door so that then that miner can't run away every time they find warm stone. And I'll have enough time to designate another square to be mined. And they can't go, oh, actually I'll go and do a different thing. That's fine. That was only kind of nominal anyway. Dig, 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 dig. Oh, my dwarf and I am repeatedly giving up on digging this hole. So in this corner I'm just building a staircase up to the next level. Which will then give my dwarf something else to do. Actually, what I should do then is slightly, which one do I, well, we'll prioritise this one while she's still on this floor. So actually she can just bounce up and down between the floors as necessary. Oops. This gets gradually more efficient. As I can designate more and more of the stone, more and more of the mining at a time to be, no, really I want this done. I'm getting confused with my keyboard there. Thinking what I should do is just allow her to mine out everything she can at this layer, and then while she's off digging out the next layer up, I can just designate the entire room. Right. No, not quite that big. Floor above, of course, is not warm, so actually I should have made that a higher priority than the room above, so that she'll come down again. Promptly and dig out more of it. Curious that the floor isn't described as warm, even though obviously it is.
On the floor heat, near where the magma is.
Yes.
Well, that's kind of how it works in Iceland, isn't it?
And it's possible it works that way in Iceland because you don't have to fire 118 levels deep into the ground to get there.
Well, yes.
I mean, I have played Dwarf Fortress in maps that actually have volcanoes, which makes this a lot easier.
It also makes it a lot easier to flood the entire fortress with magma getting all the walls.
I never did that.
Not that that's ever happened to anyone playing Dwarf Fortress.
Oh, I should unlock that door again now, to let the rather thirsty dwarf who's been making minecarts for me out. So, I mean, I could lock them in there and force them to make more, but like we've got the minimum necessary number, which is 1 minecart, 1 wheelbarrow. We've got 2 iron bars, so we can make another minecart, this one out of iron. So let's schedule that, but there's no hurry for that one. So we've got a grating, so I think we can safely channel out that square. Let's set priority back to standard. What bad things have been happening up here while I wasn't looking then? So we appear to have a bunch of... You have a cage here that I think looks like it contains an entire dwarf. Yes, I am not going to try hurling any more dwarves into the pit right now, because every time I do it seems to cause trouble. I think that should wait until we have a better... Hang on. What? Is that an undead blue peahen by any chance? No.
What's an undead hen thing that's the washing?
It's a perfectly ordinary tame blue peahen, probably collected from a passing trade caravan.
Peahens are usually very dark, but okay.
Well, yes. I mean, this is blue as in of the same species that gives you a blue peacock,
Okay.
rather than that this one is necessarily the same colour as... In the same way that a female blackbird is brown, but is still a blackbird.
Yes, I can't help feeling annoyed with people for that.
Yellow hammers are actually hammers.
They are yellow.
Have a look at the animal situation and see what we've got that might want processing. Go on, train a giant rat. Dare you. I think mostly not to bite everyone.
Okay, well, that's a good thing to do, yes.
We do have a slight excess of pigs. Yes, if anyone wants their own tame stray naked mole dog, or rather not, wants their own tame naked mole dog, you can totally have one. Similarly, the giant mole, if you're feeling particularly brave. And that blue peahen and the guinea pig. And like, if you want geese, you can have them. More stray naked mole puppies. Right. I mean, I'm not sure giving everyone pets is going to improve things, but
It depends how much new shit you want randomly distributed around Fortress.
curiously, that is a substance that is not simulated in Dwarf Fortress.
Remember,
How else do you get fertiliser?
remember dwarf fortresses are very badly ventilated, so if the ship was simulated, then
Well, no, we have miasma.
Yes, you only get that from actual rotting materials, though.
Inadequate simulation. We do from state.
then most of your fortress engineering is installing ventilation shafts, air ducts, engines if the ducts weren't big enough.
Right, and then to save danger of people falling down holes, we will install a grating over that hole. And there's a much more important hole here that also needs a grating installed over it once it's made. What are you doing down here? You're a poet trying to attend a meeting. Why on earth are you attending a meeting? Is the mayor currently down here helping me to dig things out or something? He seems to have gone off again now.
Well, the creative pumpkin was supposed to be, but got lost on the way there.
So the lump of stone disappears down into the magma depths, and we install a new grating over that hole as well.
Is it not that legally good safety measures?
Yes. I mean, okay, we're just installing a glass grating over a hole into the magma, but glass gratings work perfectly well and are magma safe. Right, so on this layer then we can install our first pump. So this is the drain pump, so it wants to pump from the west to the east, so that it will pump magma out of the storage vessel into the hole, into the drain hole. The right hand one of its two squares is something that no one can pass, is a wall essentially that dwarves can't pass through, so that will essentially wall off the drain on this layer, and the dwarves will stand on the accessible square in order to pump it. So I think that's all correct, and we install a pump there. Orthoclase blocks are magma safe. An enormous green glass corkscrew will be magma safe. We apparently have an enormous bismuth corkscrew kicking around in the fort somewhere. And a green glass cube is magma safe. So now someone can start building that. So that then means that we want to make a whole... I could have done this without digging out the entire room first, and then I wouldn't have had to rebuild half the stuff afterwards. But so that hole will then be the one that we stick the minecarts in, which means that's going to need to be over an open square on this layer with an upward ramp in it. So first Oh, yeah, let's wall that off. I'm not going to muck around with blocks. Let's just build walls down here out of raw, rough granite. So we'll build that wall. Right, and then we'll install a ramp below there out of granite. And a wall there made out of granite, and a wall there made out of granite. And we'll fill in the last bit of wall once the ramp's built. So many people want to entertain my citizens and visitors.
Tweaking 2 weeks time.
Is that a very small big
I think it was very small force to home.
That's good.
It's not just quite wrong with you. I can't really expect that.
So that will then be where we pump things to, which actually means that I now know where I want the intake pump to go. So let's build that as well while I remember. So that will pump from the north and will pump into that hole. So it can go there. Autoclaves block, enormous green glass corkscrew, green glass tube. Right. I haven't actually, which in turn means I know where the hole, where its intake hole is going to be, which is there. But while there are dwarves mucking around building things, let's not dig that out. So now that shows us a downward ramp there, which is good. How's our Baroness doing? We need to designate her tomb, and we need to improve her office dining room type business a bit. So this will probably downgrade things even further. I'm going to make her tomb overlap with her office and her dining room, and assign it to Baroness. So now, yes, we need to upgrade all of those. Well, okay. Let us just carve some nice things into your floor. I'm sure that will make you happier. Because that's free. Yeah, there don't seem to be very many dwarves around here causing trouble, so let's be optimistic and cut a hole in the floor there. And as long as there's no dwarf standing on the square when we cut it out, it'll be fine. I don't like the phrase interrupted by lion corpse, because I don't think we own any lion corpses, which means if there's a lion corpse around, it's currently wild. No, I mean, I think it's come in from outside, so it's not ours, and nicely in a cage or something. Right, everyone indoors again. Is there anyone on the surface anyway? I kind of expect there is, yes. Oh, someone's busy fighting with a lion. Right, how do fights with lions come out then? This bone carver does not appear to have a useful weapon. No, because they're carrying a crutch instead, which is like kind of helpful, but it would be better if you had a weapon instead of your shield. But Because frankly, beating up a lion with a wooden crutch is not, or a steel buckler, is not actually going to help.
A steel butler.
Buckler.
Okay.
So we don't really know how an adequately equipped dwarf would fare against an undead lion. I mean, it's probably not as scary as the rhinoceros is, but problem is that's right next to the entrance. Which leaves me yeah, they're all really close to the entrance. Okay, is there actually anyone else on the surface? Other than Shoras Zonkakoth. I mean, who has a great name, but basically, no, a kitten doesn't qualify. I don't care if a kitten becomes undead, nor does a cat. Right, I think actually the only person on the surface is Shoras Zonkakoth. I think a lion is probably, while not as scary as a rhino, still above the we can kill this if we send our military after it. So I think are you just another cat? Yes. I think we say it is time to seal things off until the lions go away. We'll leave the front door open though, in case one of the lions decides to go after some of the animals and manages to get itself cage trapped. So that will be fine. I should also thus avoid people. If I haven't locked those are locked already. Right, good. A bunch of items have become inaccessible because they're locked away. Shoras Zonkakoth. Hang on. Okay, there is someone around. Oh, unless... what? Okay, someone else is on the surface. I just couldn't find them. And he's also currently wrestling a lion corpse. And has lost the use of their pick arm. Yeah, you're not going to... You've lost the use of both of your arms and both of your feet. Right.
So knees though.
So, yes. Sorry, both of you two are being sacrificed to the lions. I don't think we can sensibly save you. I know that trying to save people... is not often successful. That, on the other hand, is perfectly normal.
Jacob, that's hardly fair. Ben's trying to concentrate.
Don't think I can come up with any, sorry. I clearly should, but... so, yeah, one of the dwarves is dead already.
I should finish my
Yes, I suppose so. I'm not sure it's very helpful. Right, so where was I? Yes, I was going to unpause and stop worrying about the lions because, frankly, they're going to kill a couple of people and then yes.
It's a bit late now. Does everyone else go with all their arms and Next stop, we're sort of seeing a limb away, a limb away, a limb away.
Thank you.
Oh yeah.
No. We'll install a grating over that hole.
At work, the marketing organisation is currently divided into units that look at what various kinds of different kinds of organisation you might be selling to, which are known as lines of business. The internal organisation chunks are called LOBs, and I do keep wondering if we're working with national registers, but I've not yet found a good answer to where this possibility. Is yours is it the right time? I heard you say lions of business. What's a lines of business? Yes, so what are lions out here? There's an imaginary lion.
One of my dwarves is throwing a tantrum. Which I think may mean that they've... No, those are all still built. Sometimes dwarves throwing tantrums also throw furniture. One of the lions has got named. One of the kittens has got met by a lion. Lion corpse scratches the stray kitten in the tail. Right, so is there anyone who thinks it's their job to build these pumps then? Doesn't look like it, no. Yeah, that one somehow ended up suspended. Unsuspend that. So if no one thinks it's their job to build the pumps, that probably means we don't have anyone assigned to mechanics, doesn't it? You have a mechanic. You have two mechanics. Possible. Do you need something weird like pump operating in order to build a pump? Surely not. Should tell me anyway if I mouse over it. Needs architecture, okay. Do I just need to make more architects? Are we still suffering from an architect shortage? Right, that's that wall correctly constructed now. Okay, well, if no one is going to architect those screw pumps, I will give another one of our excess of farmery types. Architecture. Right. It won't be a very good pump because they're a terrible architect, but that's probably the best we can do. Right, so what I should try doing now is designating a stockpile here, single square stockpile. Let's do this the really, really dull way for now. That just takes mine carts in iron and steel. Now, because there's only one square of stockpile there, the dwarves will only put one minecart in there, which is, like, probably not a very helpful number of minecarts. We would probably prefer them to pile lots of them in there, but it's a stockpile. So we can engage in various forms of silliness involving quantum stockpiling in order to make this work better. And I might try that later. But let's do this. Let's just get one minecart full of magma somewhere. Yes, I think that might be quite enough excitement anyway. Right, we are architecting the first minecart. Pump. The first minecart has been pumped. Pumped? First pump has been architected. Anyway, Shoras Zonkakoth has been found dead. That's the kind of statement that worries me, because it means that someone was there to find her. Well, there's... So... Well, I mean... Oh. So Vukar, Cat and Vukar came back to life and got trapped in a cage. Excellent. You have another cage. Oh, right. We found Shoras Zonkakoth's body in the... Oh, right. Oh, God. I think Shoras Zonkakoth was found by virtue of the fact she turned up shambling into the fortress and attacked a pig, and the pig noticed her. The pig, I would observe, is now also undead. Because my bait pig did manage to lure 2 zombie dwarves into their cages, but the pig then got killed by something and has risen as a zombie. So she apparently managed to kill the pig without damaging it so much that it couldn't, I think it bled to death looking at that, that it couldn't be revived, and so now we have a zombie pig outside. Excellent. Yes, indeed, Claire. Pigs do count as quantum observers for this purpose. So the lower pump is now designed. The upper pump is not yet designed. I think all these cancelled pickup equipments are just people trying to pick up crossbow bolts and such like. We should actually install some more doors down here on general principles. There should be a door there and a door... Actually... Yes, and a door here. And I observe we have an orthoclase door in stock. Let's install an orthoclase door next to the room where we're going to be handling magma. Right, there's our first screw pump set up. Let's not operate that screw pump until we've also got the drain pump built. And probably got that door in place as well. Not that I'm paranoid or anything, but we are trying to handle magma. Someone has been paying enough attention to know how many kittens we should have, and has noticed one of them has gone missing. Right, so there's a nice yellow autoclave door installed, and my architect is lugging another green glass tube in order to construct the second pump. And now they need to go and get the corkscrew, and then they'll go and get the block. So yes, the pumps end up looking yellow because the blocks they're made out of are orthoclase. Yes, I'm afraid that the pig that spotted the the death of a dwarf is not going to. Right, okay, so that one's now architected. What? Why is no one storing a minecart in this? Furniture stockpile. Do I need to permit every possible quality? Maybe that will help. Are we here? Small bit of low priority mining. How? Yeah, our Baroness finally has a is finally happy with her stuff. Let's hide her engravings because, well, actually, let's see what they are. At least a bit. Appears that our the symbol of our government is a picture of a dwarf. Possibly. That's a rather alarming thing. It appears to be an exceptionally designed image of nothing at all. Killing of the zombie elf smearplexed by a flying object. We're not going to tell you what kind of flying object. I suspect so, yes.
So it might be look it up on YouTube.
Right. So we've got both of the pumps installed. There seems to be a slight reluctance to Where are these minecarts then? Has something happened to them? Has someone decided they need filing somewhere else or something? Do we have a section for minecarts? No. Are they under furniture? No. One of those. Why does Dwarf Fortress have 15 different ways of categorising objects? Moments.
The answer is in the question. Dwarf Fortress.
Right, we consider cheese a top level thing. Floodgates, footwear, goblets, grates, handwear, hatch covers, headwear, large gem, leaves, legwear, limb and body casts, liquid. Why do we have... Oh, yes, because we've got the random rubbish that people have left behind. Logs, meat, probably not. Mechanisms, no. Millstones, musical instruments, pipe sections, plump helmets. Well, actually, plants in general, but we only have plump helmets. Powders, we've even got some plaster. Wow, we're advanced here. Bird meals, querns, quivers, raw fish, remains, rings, rough gems, sceptres, seas. Yes. I think I am. Let's just check. It still doesn't say paused in the top left. So yes. Window... Trap components? No. Toys, totems, tools. Maybe it's a tool. Right. Where is the bronze minecart? I can't zoom. What? Oh, tab. Where is the iron? The iron minecart is precisely where I think the iron minecart is. There is no good reason why a minecart that's currently in a forge should not be moved to a suitable stockpile. Indeed, there is a job to move a minecart to the stockpile. Excellent. Here comes someone whose job it is to move the minecart. Right, good.
I don't have to buy Christmas presents for people on the continent now because they're not in the middle of the supply chain snafu that's causing dupe.
So a steel minecart is pretty heavy.
While you're out there, could you check my tumble drying has actually dried?
And yes, the routing will take them up here. Deposit the minecart in the stockpile. Right. So we have a minecart in the stockpile. Someone operate the pump. I'm fairly confident that that square is sensibly walled in and that we will not thus end up
Causing a magma flood.
causing an utter flood. I shall... Alright, they're already doing another job. Someone will probably turn up and operate the pump shortly. If no one decides to operate the pump soon... Oh, right, there's someone. Right, someone who has given themselves the job of operating the pump. It will take very little time to fill the space with magma. So just before they arrive at the pump, I will have a quick safety check and make sure that there's nothing that looks dangerous. So there's no one in the upper room at all. There's a minecart in the correct place. The wall looks to be intact. Right. So now that space is filled with 7 of 7 magma, and minecart is full of magma. Right, so now the slightly scary bit. Where we say run the drain pump and stop running the filling pump. Has someone else got the job of operating the second pump? That's just inconvenient. Not yet, at least. What are you doing? You're going off to drink. My pump operator is going off to booze. Okay. Sure, they'll be back in due course. Maybe I'll give someone else pump operating job. Possibly not the surgeon. We're quite short of miners now. You're all of the other kinds of thing. Become a pump operator too. Oh, one of my children has been possessed. We will shortly be having another strange mood type event. They have claimed and craft dwarf's workshop, as is usual. Right, leather, wood. Pretty sure we've got leather and wood. Possessed by the spirit of making weird things out of leather and wood, apparently. Check whether we still have the lions. Yes. We only appear to have 2 lion corpses out there now. So that might be an improvement. Right, so there is a small chance that something will go catastrophically wrong when we start operating this second pump. So let us watch closely. Right, so I've just single-stepped to the point at which the pump has started pumping, and this square now contains 0 magma and a steel minecart full of magma. Yes! This square now contains 7 of 7 magma, so we can already stop the pump because the magma's in the right place. The thing that slightly worries me is what happens when this magma tries to fall into the magma sea, which is after all already full. So currently the magma is on this floor and hasn't yet fallen down. Right, there it goes, 1 layer Z level down. Okay, it seems to be safe in that it hasn't actually overflowed. But on the other hand, it is just sitting there in that square, which worries me. Right, yes, no problem with that strange mood. Mysterious construction underway. Like, it's going to be made of nothing very exciting. It's made out of pomegranate wood, logs and camel leather. Right, so I think I do have a bit of a problem here.
Probably large orders and traders of generic. What useful thing anyone can possibly make out of that combination of nonsense?
So what worries me is, okay, we've managed to pump one unit of magma into the drain, and it ain't draining anywhere. We can pump another unit of magma in at this level, which might work, but I fear as soon as we do that, the magma is going to rise up through that floor hatch there, floor grate there, in an unhelpful fashion. So I think this is why the wiki said you probably want an evaporation area for the magma rather didn't actually say you don't want to drain it back into the magma sea, but did say you probably want somewhere where you can evaporate it. Hush, yes, I know you can't really evaporate magma.
Maybe in the adventure game sense.
Yes. So, yes, thank you, Jacob. Congratulations on your single-use magma pump. So, the wiki's suggestion of how to dispose of your magma is where is it? A 3x3 evaporation chamber works fine. So what I think we should do therefore is to we have some more warm stone as a result of having pumped that magma through here. Yes, I think we can retrofit this into an evaporation chamber. So I think we enlarge this hole here into 3x3. We'll have to cut in through the wall here first. We floor over the existing grating, replace that grating with some floor, and I think that will deal with the problem. So yes, I thought there was a danger that we might have the magma rise up through the grating as soon as we operated the pump, and while I'm happy that that didn't happen, I think if we do it again, it's much more likely. Pumps are known to do slightly unhelpful things to magma. And in particular, if we do it again, we can't retrofit because we'll have a pile of magma at this level. So, since the drain doesn't actually appear to be able to drain because the magma sea doesn't work like an aquifer works, or like the sea works, let's just not remove that yet. Stop removal. Because if someone removes that floor grate while there's another dwarf standing on it, embarrassment will ensue. Yeah, well, I didn't let the giant rat out of the cage, did I? Maybe I did, I don't know. Doesn't look like it. Good. Our undead pig is busy fighting kittens. Anyway, meanwhile, we have a minecart full of magma. So let's set to work on the next stage while we arrange things so that our magma pump can be reused. So I think what we now want to do is up here have a small minecart stockpile mean, ideally we would have this set to be a stockpile that only contains minecarts that are full of magma, but unfortunately that isn't actually an option that we get. So what I think we do, we've got one iron minecart and one steel minecart, haven't we? We could engage in some particular silliness and alternate which thing, thing takes iron or steel. What we do want to do though is to have it allow wheelbarrows. What I really want to do is make sure it gets the correct wheelbarrow, so I can deal with that, I think, by looking at our stocks of wheelbarrows and making sure that all of the... Where are they? They're probably tools. This would be lovely if we could just restrict it to wheelbarrows rather than have it include pots. So that's a wheelbarrow. That wheelbarrow is wooden and hence not useful and is assigned to no stockpile. So let's forbid that one and forbid that one. That one's assigned to a stockpile, that one's assigned to a stockpile. Right, so that now means there is only one wheelbarrow that is not assigned to a stockpile and that is not forbidden. So the only wheelbarrow that can end up in this stockpile is the one we're interested in.
Is this business where you can't designate a stockpile only for minecarts full of the thing you want? It's reminding me of the awkward user interface thing I had ages ago playing VMS Empire, in which you can assign a city to produce armies and you can assign a city to produce transports. Armies are produced 6 times as fast as transports, which is convenient because that also the number of armies that fit on a transport. You can assign a standing order to a city for a particular unit type as soon as it arrives in the city by production or by walking in there. So you can tell the armies in the first city that as soon as they're created, they should walk to the second city by their transports. What you want to do is then assign a standing order to the second city saying, when an army arrives, tell it to get on the first transport. That is a legal order type, but it can't be assigned as a standing order because that is just a hole in the UI. Also, you also want to tell the transports, don't just go somewhere else immediately, wait till you're full first. And then you would have a city there be a completely automatic production line of full transports, which is just what you want to go and conquer something else. But
Yes, I mean, really, we're slightly abusing minecarts here. Like, you're not meant to put... Well, I mean, putting minecarts in wheelbarrows in order to transport the contents of the minecart is not really the intended use of minecarts. There is... So, much more sensible use of a minecart involves, like, building minecart tracks and pushing the minecarts along the minecart tracks. And then you can kind of organise it to deal with whether the minecart is full or not. But that requires an awful lot of building when your source of material is 118 Z levels below the destination. And an awful lot of pushing. There's a particularly mad approach, and in particular the mechanisms for dealing with minecarts don't in general handle filling them with magma. There is a slightly silly approach shown somewhere in the on the wiki which involves minecarts full of minecarts. Because if you do that, then you can load the minecart with minecarts in the normal way you load minecarts. And then you have a kind of complicated unloading system that involves a minecart landing on a track stop which dumps the contents of the minecarts onto some rollers to accelerate them along another section of track, which then runs into a track stop which dumps those ones. But then you need power for your rollers, and if you're, at least as I am, trying to avoid gratuitously taking advantage of Dwarf Fortress's inability to understand conservation of energy, this tends to leave... This is quite a lot of effort. So at the moment I'm going for slow-moving, just lugging them around in wheelbarrows. Right, notice how none of my miners is on fire.
In
Right, so-
Nosetools fair city, where the dwarves are so pretty, I first set my eyes on sweet Urist minecart
Okay.
as he wheeled his wheelbarrow through streets broad and narrow, singing "Minecarts full of magma" for some reason. Good night.
Good night. Yeah, I have to wait for them to finish deconstructing that grate. Right. Don't leave the grate there. I'm now going to have to make a small grate stockpile just to make sure that the grate ends up in the right place, because I don't want to lose that nice glass grate. Right, a highly specialised stockpile. Right, there we go. This tame Draltha, yeah, okay, it'll follow you out again probably. Pomegranate wood cup. Well, that's nice. Spiky cup, encircled with bands of leather. I don't appear to know how much it's worth. I lost my appraiser. It's kind of embarrassing. Right. There's a slight problem with building this wall, which is that I think there's a 50% chance that it'll get built out of granite on the wrong side of it. Can I... Okay, one of those two granites is the one that I want. Let's try... Because obviously if we build it from this piece of granite... Actually, that's how I deal with it, isn't it? We build it from the piece of granite inside the evaporation chamber, then it will get built from the wrong side, and that will be really embarrassing because the dwarf will end up stuck on the wrong side of the wall. But now I've forbidden the internal piece of granite, so that should be fine. Right, unpause. So, what's going on with minecarts then? Oh, you stupid Draltha, if you get stuck in there, I'm just going to set fire to you. Oh dear, that trained Draltha child is going to be incinerated, I fear. The next time you pump out... Oh! Oh! That square of magma's vanished. Maybe the drainage system would have worked. I feel slightly embarrassed now if it turns out I didn't need to do that. I mean, like, I'll be killing a Draltha for no good reason. I don't feel right about setting fire to a Draltha I don't need to set fire to. Like, obviously, if we needed to, then I would. But, like, it looks like the drainage system may actually work just slower than I had hoped. Right, there goes our wheelbarrow, which is going to have to be taken up to the stockpile first. What I should do is to forbid... Oh no, I should make... So in there we have an iron minecart, and in here we have a steel minecart. So what I should do is to make this stockpile take only iron. Terribly micromanagey. And this stockpile take only steel. Actually, we might want a second thing. Right, so now what I want is to build a track stop. Where on earth are those built from? There. We will put the track stop there. Okay, we need to remove the paved floor that we have there at the very least, I think. Let's undesignate that square as part of the thing, stockpile, and remove the floor. Note, that's not actually make a big hole in the floor. That's merely remove the paving that I put there in order to make it remove the limestone block floor that I put there in order to make it more obvious that there was a hole. So that should be safe. We don't actually have the butcher shop is now idle, isn't it? Yes. In that case, I think we should slaughter like about 5 pigs. Though, to be fair, we're also suffering a meat surplus, so this may not help us very much. Right, so now we could build a track stop there. We want it to dump, when a minecart is placed on it, we want it to tip the contents of the minecart eastwards into the pit. We will make it out of that convenient limestone block we just used. Right. I would also quite like a second steel minecart, if I'm going to do this in this slightly silly way, or second magma safe minecart. But I don't currently have enough materials for that, so let's not worry about that for now. I mean, we could, I suppose, have disposable. So we want to, we'd quite like a wheelbarrow. Sorry, when I said minecart, I meant wheelbarrow. We would quite like a wheelbarrow for hauling the minecarts back down as well. And that obviously, if that minecart, if that wheelbarrow gets left in the lower in the, why are you wandering around with that corpse? What are you doing? If that wheelbarrow gets left in the lower stockpile, then it will get flooded with magma, which will be bad for the wheelbarrow. Okay, that's going to a stockpile somewhere, is it? I don't think we can do much with a dwarf corpse. Let's just dump that. I think. Well, let's see what task it's being used for next. Keeps getting taken to a... Yeah, let's dump that. It keeps getting taken to somewhere, to a coffin and then taken back again. You've still got the lions out there. Oh, right, I think... Well, we have a few problems on the surface, like we have one huge... Oh no, that's down in the pit, good. We have one... we have a naked mole dog, a zombie naked mole dog and a zombie boar. I think it's probably safe to let people on the surface again soon. I mean, I'm not sure we actually need to just yet, so maybe we should... Let's move some magma first. Which mostly means finding out where that wheelbarrow has got to. Right, someone is lugging it very slowly up the stairs because it's a very heavy wheelbarrow. Because of the weird requirement that if you're moving a wheelbarrow to a stockpile when it's empty, you have to carry it. You can't push it. But there are only a few Z levels below the surface now, so that's fine. Now there will be the usual faff caused by the fact that my fortress is far, far too full of animals. Like, maybe we should fix this by killing some of them. Or selling them. Could do that too. Well, I'm sure it'll be fine. Okay, the pig corpse is at least somewhat dangerous. Wheelbarrow is only a couple of rooms away and going the wrong way. Because Drowthers are chasing one another around up here. I think once the wheelbarrow has been brought to the stockpile, we'll then push it on the way out again, I hope. Right. What the hell's going on up there? Oh, the common problem that you try to tan a hide and it comes back to life. Right, it doesn't look like we've got, even now, anyone actually moving that object out of the stockpile. So maybe just turning off maybe just making something not eligible to be kept in a stockpile isn't good enough. Seems weird. But we don't seem to have got a job assigned for it. So let's just try completely removing that stockpile. Right, does that give us a job to move that? Right, now we have what looks like a job to move the minecart. Oh dear, we've lost one of our wall leopards. That's slightly worrying. Right, so now someone is pushing the steel wheelbarrow all the way down. We'll obviously try to make this more efficient in future. And has now, let's just check this. In that square there is a steel wheelbarrow containing a steel minecart which contains 833 units of magma. Right, I was actually going to, let's reinstate that grate. And then follow the wheelbarrow with minecart with the magma back up again. Right, progress. In this square there is now a steel minecart full of magma. So now we engage in something even more complicated. Which means I think I need to look at the instructions. There's a new hauling route, specify a new stop. So, routes somewhere in here then. Or do I actually have to remember how this works? Hauling. You have no routes. Define a new route. It should have one stop. Oh no, the stop should not be there. Remove stop. Stop should be here. I think that's all I need to do. And then I assign the steel minecart to it. Was it the steel minecart we got up here? Yes. Assign vehicle, steel minecart. We now have a place track vehicle job on the in the job list. No one yet thinks it's their job to do it, mind. Yes, they do. Someone has now picked up the minecart, is lugging it to the track stop. Whee! And this square contains a limestone floor hatch, which may not last long, and 2/7 of magma. Wonder if we should have done something about what was going to happen at the lower levels before we did that. I'm not sure we can actually. That door there is probably jammed by that dead pigtail coat. Let's mark that for... No, let's not mark that for dumping. Alright, if you're going to be there, then, well, okay, let's mark that for dumping. Let's hope we can clear some space. Because standing right there may be a bit exciting when the magma arrives. So it's still falling. Falling quite slowly, really. Curious, is the floor hatch has survived so far, good. I expect that floor hatch will eventually be destroyed. But, like, maybe we'll manage to get the place cleared out fairly before the floor hatch is actually destroyed. Right. This square now contains 2/7 of magma, limestone cavern floor, some smoke, and a large number of objects which are surrounded with double exclamation marks, which means on fire. Really quite a lot of objects on fire. So there is a slight thing that worries me, which is that this fire may be able to spread through the fortifications. And thus hurt the dwarf on the other side of them. But we will see. Welcome, Dizzyat. Yes, we have magma which has now been dumped into our rubbish dump, and we are seeing what happens. Meanwhile, actually, I should start filling up the next minecart with magma, shouldn't I? wonder if I can engage in some particular silliness here. Anyway, let's... so at the moment I have to do this by designating an entirely new stockpile because I undesignated the last stockpile, which is a bit OTT. Right, which just is a thing for minecarts of iron, not minecarts made of anything else of any quality. So that will then cause someone to put a fresh minecart down there, and then we can fill it. Ah, right, someone had unfortunately dumped a bunch of masterwork objects in there, I think. Yes. Possibly some people were wearing things. This will slightly upset people. Okay, it looks like there is no longer anyone in the room adjacent to the rubbish dump, so I'm going to forbid anyone from entering that room because it's probably going to fill with smoke quite soon. Right, we can see the rubbish dump is now filling with smoke. Quite a few masterworks. Oh gods! We're setting fire to a large number of masterwork crossbow bolts, aren't we? Yes. Because, of course, carving crossbow bolts out of bone is an incredibly efficient way to become an expert bone carver. And what happens to these masterwork bone crossbow bolts is that we use them for practicing shooting things, namely zombies in the pit. Which means that the pit is full of masterwork bone crossbow bolts. Happily, unhappiness with people setting fire to things you've made is mostly is scaled by how many things you have ever made. Curiously, thus... thus, I hope that the relevant people will not be seriously unhappified. Right, so it looks like the fire is spreading through all of the objects down there, even though the magma is only covering 2 squares. So the fire will probably cause quite a lot of destruction. The magma is only on these 2 squares, but there are lots of burning objects on neighbouring squares. And a lot of objects have been destroyed already, which is good. And there are pools of dwarf grease around that have presumably been rendered out of the dead dwarves down here. That's lovely. Any of our... Oh, we have a stock of hungry heads down in the caverns now. Doesn't look... Oh, yes, we can see that at least some of the corpses are on fire as well, so that's nice. Is obviously burned by virtue of, well, being on fire. Doesn't actually have he is on fire. But yes, we now have burning dwarf corpses down there. It looks like we may not actually need much more magma down there, because like the fire is doing a pretty good job. So meanwhile, but eventually that magma will evaporate, so like we can't be quite safe. Let's reconstruct that wall again, and we'll see if the pumping situation continues. Right, so we have a minecart in position, so we can start that pump. So I do have other plans for this magma. One of them is to replace... Are things still on fire down there? There's still magma down there, so I think more things will catch fire given a chance. There are still some things that are still suitably undead down there, so we need to let fires carry on. So what I want to do is to replace is to set us up some new a glass furnace and a forge and such like up in the workshop levels here, fueled by magma. This will obviously require hauling up some magma and making some holes in the floor and such like. Actually, let's start by replacing our existing smelter that we use for smelting lead down here. Oh, I've remembered another thing I need to do. By removing this smelter and replacing this with a magma smelter, because that's a relatively easy job. And will give me some experience of setting up magma things with artificial magma pits without needing to do it in the depths of my fortress. So I think I'm not sending anyone onto the surface until we've got this place cleared. So we're now in the situation where the two squares that were full of magma have nothing else in them, and there are still plenty of creatures around, plenty of materials around elsewhere. Most of the objects have been destroyed. Nothing is any more on fire. Right, we need to put more magma in there then. So I think we're currently waiting for a pump operator to come down and operate that pump. Yes, we need more magma. This is an extremely slow way of moving magma around, but it also doesn't require a lot of setup and is, in some respects, relatively safe. I say in some respects because a lot of the usual ways of moving magma around, you're never in any danger of overfilling your places you're putting the magma. With this, you perfectly well can overfill places. So I think, I think we want to make a magma smelter as a fairly... Right, so we've now cleared that, which now means we have zillions of lead bars all over the place because I haven't really had a use for lead. Yes, someone is throwing a tantrum. I'm a little bit worried about the number of tantrums we're getting. But not quite enough to do anything about it yet. So I kind of feel we need somewhere to keep all that lead. So I think on the this is the main level. We have our ooh, this is the main level that we have our workshops on. So I think this is probably the place to build a new magma forge. So forge is probably going to be our most used new thing. So we're going to want a room for a magma forge. I think we want to build a magma glass furnace up here, because the nice thing about glass is it's a renewable resource. And I think we should probably also build a magma kiln, so let's have a room for a kiln as well, because we've got clay. So once that's dug out, I will then set up a wheelbarrow equipped place to put lead bars so that we can get them out of the depths. And actually, while we're on the subject, how are we off for wood? Got a reasonable amount of wood. Let's make a bunch of wooden bins that we can put that lead in, because I think that will help. And let's unforbid all of our wheelbarrows, because we no longer need to be very careful about where we assign wheelbarrows to. Tools. Unforbid our one remaining wooden wheelbarrow. Sadly, you can't make wheelbarrows out of glass. Oh yes, we should also dig through that wall and stick the door in there. How are we doing? Has someone operated the pump? Yes, right, you can stop operating that pump now. Start operating the pump above it. Right, and now you can stop operating that pump. Currently that space has 5/7 magma in it. I think it will vanish in due course, but I'm not sure. Right, so that means that now that minecart is... If I just go... block... I meant disable, actually. Disable's much more sensible. That will then mean that that's now a boring thing, and then we say that one settings, furniture, siege arrow, ammo, also allow iron minecarts, and now someone will haul that minecart up here. I mean, this is very much a structure on the assumption that we use magma for like occasional one-off jobs. So that should encourage people to haul some of those lead bars out of the way. That 3x3 space in the bottom right corner there is where the where I'm going to install the smelter, the forge. Actually, what I could do, slightly stupidly, Oh, I'm going to need some more. No, I'm not. No, that's fine. Is to build the magma smelter, even though it won't work properly, and that will cause someone to move all the lead bars out from its footprint, and then we can demolish it again, then dig the hole under it and fill the hole with magma, and then reinstall it, which is kind of tangled, but it will work. Let's unassign that stockpile. So I think someone should now feel that it's their job to shift that mine cart. Oh dear, how sad. Yeah, the undead down here are now being very sensible and not stepping in the magma. Of course, everyone currently probably feels it's their job to shift lead bars around, so that was possibly a foolish move on my part. Okay, no, since they're using a wheelbarrow, it'll be quite slow, which is fairly safe, because I have other plans anyway. Possibly I shouldn't have made it both a bin-capable stockpile and a wheelbarrow-capable stockpile. I have a feeling there were problems with that trick. Right, wheelbarrow has vanished from there, so... Oh yes, I should... unassign that vehicle on the grounds that it's no longer of use. Right, so now the architect is hauling all of these lead bars out of the way. But there are an awful lot of them. Yes, it is kind of curious that it's the architect's job to move all the cruft from the site. But it is. This is, of course, all the lead that I got while I was trying to make some silver for someone to... Oh. What? Why are you in custody? What have you been doing? Fikod Assad thing elite marks dwarf has been kind of engaging in disorderly conduct. Oh dear, and I never actually built those spears that someone wanted. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure that Fikod Assad has been engaging in disorderly conduct given this lot. So maybe we should, like, actually send her to prison or whatever. We have got a prison, haven't we? I think it's quite nice. Yes, it's that room there, which perhaps could be nicer. Probably do with a bed. So what happens now if I say... Yeah, it's pretty clear that Fikod Thingamy has been causing trouble. Let us convict her. Let's make a very small yeah, we don't really want that chain in the corner, do we? Because it's really hard to put anything close to it. Food stockpile there. That in... Let's just have it contain prepared food for now. But we really ideally have a booze stockpile within reach as well. Still moving the lead bars around. But someone has just returned with an iron. Oh! Fikod Assad has been found dead. Right, how did that happen? Were they sentenced to a beating and unfortunate things occurred? Anyway. Assign a vehicle. The iron minecart. Yes, I think the captain of the guard may have decided that that our elite Barksdwarf wanted beating for her having tantrumed, and has done so, and has perhaps been a little over enthusiastic in his beating, and has beaten her rather fatally. This is not entirely good. Still, more magma. Which seems not to have had much effect. It's flowed into squares that didn't have much. Oh no, we've got one more corpse on fire at least, which might set fire to other things. The room is now filled with a mixture of smoke and miasma. Right, so now we can... So if I disable and then enable, no, we don't. We do lose everything. Oh well. Go down here. The problem is that they'll now carry those minecarts down here, which is going to take a while. Oh well. May as well get them going quickly then. Forbid everything except... This could be more efficient. Forbid everything except mine carts. Forbid all materials except iron and steel. This is artisanal, handcrafted, small batch magma. Batch. And more things on fire. Good. Right, how are the attempts at clearing some space going? Those are going well. Excellent. Right. Now let's remove this magma smelter again, because we need to dig a hole under it. So someone is now lugging a minecart downstairs. I think. I wonder if there's a more clever way we can do this. Well, I suspect there is a more clever way we can do this. Sarah asks, was there a necromancer in those messages? Yes, the necromancer Bard Momo's thingamy was one of the people who got beaten by by our tantruming dwarf, who has now been killed by some really quite vicious police brutality. Right, now we can make a hole there, and the hole will not end up filled with lead bars, and then we can instead fill the hole with magma, and then etc, etc. We need, I think, 2 doses of magma to bring that up to a magma level that will operate a smelter correctly. We should actually not be accumulating any more stuff down here, I think. Actually, I should remove that stockpile, because I think we want now to be thinking about disassembling our magma powered stuff down here and reconstructing it somewhere more useful. We made it down here while we didn't have the ability to move magma around, but now we do have the ability to move magma around. And yes, it looks like it drains away adequately fast, so we didn't need the evaporation chamber after all. There's a slight problem that the magma is actually evaporating from the pit. I don't think this is yet a serious problem, but... So what's in these cages then? That one has a perfectly ordinary large rat. That one has a zombie naked mole dog. That one has a perfectly ordinary gorlak. So that zombie naked mole dog wants to go in the pit. I think we can safely drop the zombie naked mole dog in there. Yes, though actually the magma has moved now, so it's not, or has evaporated slightly. I'm now slightly worried about the speed with which we can or can't get minecarts back down for refilling. Rugosh Crude Lashes wishes to join as a citizen. Okay, who are they? Like, citizenship is actually slightly serious. Is that you? Yes. Really, asking for citizenship is apparently a satisfying experience. I have a wife who isn't here with you. You are a competent hammer dwarf and a legendary woodcrafter. Well, and a legendary musician. Go on. Become a citizen. It's either going or not going. It runs. I've got it configured for 50 ticks per second, but the game is currently struggling, and so is only achieving 36 ticks per second at the moment. I can pause if I have to. I have to be able to hit pause quite quickly. Sometimes. So the stray naked moldog corpse is not actually the one standing on the magma. Actually kind of inclined to let people get at the their training area again. Right, I've just remembered again a thing I wanted to do, which was that I noticed while reviewing the previous thing that we had very little soap left. So I think I want to start the soap pipeline, which I think means just that I make some ash and hope that we have some spare elk-bird tallow kicking around. Yes, we do, and some horse tallow. See if there's any other tallow kicking around, and tag it for not to be cooked, but no, there isn't. Probably because it keeps getting turned into things. But we can make a reasonable amount of horse fat soap and elk-bird fat soap, so that will be fine. I think there's a bunch of scheduled jobs that will then automatically make soap from tallow, and thus end us up with some additional soap. Which will probably help. So, yes, we're currently waiting for a minecart to be delivered down here. Where is the minecart? So one of them is there, and the other one is on its way down, but only at Z level 54 because someone's carrying it, because I don't yet have... I should actually have made 2 steel wheelbarrows in preference to 2 magma safe wheelbarrows in preference to 2 magma safe minecarts. That would have been faster. May want to adjust some of these settings around here. All on Vessel Myths wants to join us. I mean, I think I'm generally going to say if you want to join us, I'll let you. So the slightly tricky thing with building a magma smelter, a magma forge here, is that we need to get... The magma will end up on this level, which we know has a bit of an aquifer. And so things will... so the water will tend to leak into it, and I worry that that will end up solidifying the magma into obsidian, which will not be very helpful. So I think I need to carefully wall off the relevant area. So a magma forge we can't actually pressurize steam, unfortunately. So a magma forge wants those squares available. So let's channel out there as a start, and then dig out actually that square there initially. We've got a reasonable number of blocks available up here. We have 10 limestone blocks available. No, we have 51 limestone blocks available. That will do nicely. I accidentally left a job generating limestone blocks forever. No, it doesn't look like I have. That's deliberate. I want you to dig that out. And being well, someone will pick up that job reasonably quickly. Before this place floods too badly. Yes, we can see that Soap pipeline is underway. Right, so now let's dig out 2 more squares. How are we doing for, has that arrived yet? Oh. It's almost there. The dwarf hauling the minecart is now getting quite thirsty from having spent so long minecart hauling. It's going to turn out that this aquifer doesn't actually work like I think it does, isn't it? Pretty sure it does work though. It's not a very fast aquifer. Like, I think the game doesn't consider it an aquifer at all, but it does slowly leak water into rooms because it's my entire water supply. So, let's suspend the construction of that one for the moment, because it's quite important that we do these in the right order. Though frankly, the water's not coming in very fast, so let's be optimistic and carve out the whole space we need. Safely built that as well. Did I accidentally build that wall out of something other than... Oh no, it's just... Well, no, I did not intend to build that wall out of lead. Look, that's just silly. I appreciate it probably doesn't matter, but... It's just inelegant to build walls out of lead. Especially if we're going to use them to contain magma. I mean, it will work because constructions aren't subject to the usual rules of magma safety. Yes, so you can see that we now have some water coming in here, so this was necessary. Oh, I should suspend that one. We're getting a bunch of citizenship applications. This is nice. Probably want to try to work out what they're meant to be doing, mind. possibly work out whether they're zombies, vampires as well. Right, so happily you can build walls in water. Right, there's already something there, I just need to unsuspend it. Yes, I should probably stop soon. Just get things slightly tidied. So there we're basically, so the magma situation is now that I can operate the pumps again, isn't it? Yes. So I think at the moment we have a bit of a problem that the magma evaporates rather fast. So what I think I should do about that is to get to the point where we can store more magma in minecarts so that we can tip it all into the pit in bulk. So this will take a little while. I think that means I want to prioritise the use of magma for making workshops and furnaces go, because in particular that will put us in a better position to make more minecarts. Right, so that's now sensibly walled off. So I think I want to put a... Oh, we've run out of buckets. How embarrassing. How are we doing? What's our soap stock looking like now? Still only got 2 bars of soap. So the actually producing soap appears to be not happening. Maybe why we're short of buckets. There is a make soap from tallow job, but no one's doing it, which makes me suspect we have no one who's actually able to make soap. Well, since we have a wood burner, let's add soap making to their list of activities. We will add lye making and, while we're here, potash making. Which will then mean that they can run around those jobs in whatever order seems helpful. That staircase probably shouldn't be full of miasma, should it? Where's that coming from? Oh, there appears to be a rotted corpse there. Well, that should be dealt with. It should probably be buried. Have we run out of coffins again? Yes, we don't have anywhere to bury people. We also appear to have a ghostly elite marks dwarf kicking around. That's unfortunate. So I should fix that. No, that's not what I meant. Or even slightly. Sorry, I'm doing something else at the same time. So anyway, yes, what was I doing? Oh yes, I've discovered I have a ghostly elite marks dwarf problem and a shortage of actually available coffins. So let us install some more burial receptacles while we're here. That's all the coffins we've got in stock, and you can't actually escape from there without passing through a cage trap, so that's fine. And apparently we have a ghost kicking around whom we should probably memorialise. I mean, happily we don't depend very much on locked doors, so let's do this while we remember. This is let's just do this while we remember. It's of course how I end up awake at 1:30 in the morning. That was the one, yes. So, nothing's going down here. Excellent. Stop operating that pump. Start operating that pump. This bit of the system works really well. Stop operating that pump. Stray kitten found dead on the surface. Yes, well, don't be on the surface. What I really want is to be able to say, temporarily disable this stockpile, but don't force me to change all of the configuration. I wonder if I can do that by some stupid means. Like, no, that won't, because I want it to actually be, I mean, I suppose I could muck around with take and give, but I'm not sure I can do that correctly. Oh well, for now. Change settings. disable minecarts. If I just do it by disabling minecarts, that saves faff. Oh, but we found that didn't work, didn't we? Yes. Settings. Disable everything. So actually, I think I'm not going to haul that up to this level, to the top level one, because I think we need... Oh God, we've got so many things in cages here. I think we actually need to be a little cleverer about this. So I'm going to try to fuel my magma smelter first, which involves remembering where it is, installing a small stockpile here that will take one minecart, I can't remember which one it is, and also installing a temporary track stop here. Oops, no. Track stop dumping east here, built out of, well, we've got some slate nearby. It's only temporary. Let's use the nearest object, which is the lead bars, since that's fairly convenient. Until someone takes all the lead bars away, of course. Well, we've assigned them now. Oh, except we need to muck around with wheelbarrows, don't we? Tedious. So we need to go... reduce wheelbarrows on there to 0. It's kind of tempting. No, suspect we don't have many wheelbarrows unassigned in stock anyway, but still. Forbid the not already assigned wheelbarrow. That steel wheelbarrow is still assigned to stockpile 32. That's kind of inconvenient. Look, I said that stockpile isn't allowed to have wheelbarrows. Well, maybe if I ask for a different stockpile to have wheelbarrows. Then that will solve the problem. Also, I'm slightly worried that someone may have picked up the task of moving that minecart without a wheelbarrow. So I'm going to forbid it for a few ticks, just to make sure that no one currently thinks they should move it. Yeah, we need many more steel wheelbarrows, I think. Right, that is probably enough. I mean, the fortress is full of people hauling coffins around at the moment. Actually, we can mark a few of them as actually able to be used too. Should get some more people buried. Okay, right, that looks like a good place to save then. Because I may have to think quite hard about how the migrants are going to get in, whether they can get in, or anything like that. So, I will take the arrival of this migrant. I've forgotten what collective noun migrants come in. Wave as a sign that it is time to stop for the night. So when we come back, I will have to remember why everyone is moving coffins around and what on earth is going on with this minecart full of magma, and maybe come up with a slightly more efficient way of moving it. Though I think that's probably... Oh, yeah, well, we'll worry about that later. So, meanwhile, good night, stream. I will see you on Friday.